Okay, this is a 2.0 liter out of a 2005 Mazda 3. I'm going to be showing you how to remove this valve cover gasket. And the valve cover, this is pretty much, I've got it out of the car, but this is just the way that it's going to look. The only thing that I don't have on here is this shroud that goes on the top of it that just clips into these, and you just lift it, pop it loose, and the little vacuum hose goes right there. The only things that I don't have on here, so it's going to look just like this sitting in the car. The very first thing we're going to work on removing, which is probably one of the more difficult things, is these little clips that clip around these studs. And what I like to use is like a little pick, and you have to get on both sides. You actually have to have two picks and get on both sides, and then just kind of pull or pry up on these, and then they'll come up off those studs. They really grip, so we're going to remove those right there first thing. And with those three loose, we're just going to move on to this connector right here. Just push up and squeeze from the bottom. I'm going to pop that off and out of the way. And we also have another one right here, I just noticed. And this piece right here, we need to get it out of the way a little bit. And there is a tab right on the bottom, if you can see this. Let me show you. All we do is get under here and we pull that tab down, and this will slide. It'll slide in that direction and just slide off where it's not connected to this valve cover in the way. So I'm just going to get this removed and this removed. Okay, like I said, that connector clips onto that, and it slides forward and off of it, and you can see how that slides on there, and it grips onto that. So you just have to push that downwards, and you can push it forward. And the next thing that we're going to do is, these are 10 millimeters. We're just going to go ahead and take each one of these loose, and that's going to be the next step. Don't need very many tools. You can see I've just got a 15, a 10, little 8 millimeter, and then a little 8 millimeter socket with an extension, and of course my little pick to get those others. So we're just going to go ahead and take all of these loose at this point. With those out, we're just going to disconnect the connectors going to each one of the coil packs. Just push down and you're able to pull these off, and sometimes they can stick a little bit. So this one here is stuck, so I want to go ahead and get that, and then we're just going to go about taking each one of these out of here, and we'll just set them aside for now. Now, one of the things, I don't know if I mentioned before I got started, I sprayed all this off to keep any excess dirt and debris from getting down in there. So you want to make sure to do that first. Our next step, we're going to be removing these right here that hold the decorative shroud, and you can just take a 15 millimeter and put down on there, and it should loosen. If it is stuck, you can take your 8 millimeter and simply put it in between that and the plastic piece, and then hold that, and then use your 15. Another thing that can happen, you can see how it's got this brass insert. Those will actually spin in there, become loose. In that case, you can also take a pair of vice grips and squeeze really hard on that part, and then go about removing this with the 15 millimeter. That should get it off there. Worst case, you would have to cut it loose with a Dremel or something. I've seen some of them be pretty stuck, but usually I could take a pair of vice grips and get a hold of that and able to get it off. So we're just going to go ahead and remove each one of these, and that's the next step. Okay, now we're going to need to remove this bracket from this stud, and if you'll look right down in here, if we move, okay, this connector is kind of stuck, but if you look right down in there, you'll see that 10 millimeter, and we're going to remove that, and that's going to give slack, and this bracket will be able to remove it off here. Okay, now we can just lift this up and out of the way, revealing the 10 millimeter that's below that. Now at this point, we're able to get all of them around the perimeter, and I was going to show you on top of needing the coil packs off of the spark plugs to pull this off easier. You'll notice there's a couple that's hidden right in here. So what I'm going to be utilizing is just a 10 millimeter socket with an extension, and for the ones that have the studs, I'm just going to be using this little bitty wrench. So I'm just going to start working my way around the perimeter. First, we're going to get all those. Okay, I've got all of them loose around the perimeter. Now the bolts shouldn't come out, but if they do, just either leave them where they are or at least label them, their location. Like I said, they're kind of made to where they're supposed to stay clipped in there. It's a good idea to take a few pictures also to make sure that you get everything back to where you need to get it. But all of them are loose around the perimeter, and now we're just going to be taking these two out that are right here. You got one up here by this first coil pack by the oil fill, and then you got one by the third one down, and those are the last two right there, so we'll go ahead and get those out. Okay, now once you've made absolutely sure you've got all the bolts loose, this should pull up. You may have to pry just very carefully at one corner and then start working it up. But this should be ready. Okay, and like I said, some of the little bolts will want to fall out, so you want to make sure that you've got a picture or whatever before you go to plopping the bolts out of there. But I'm going to go ahead and try to get this cleaned up a little bit, and we will follow up from there. Okay, and before I start cleaning it, I'm going to remove this old seal here, and you can see that it's pretty flattened out. So it's definitely ready for another one. And I'm just going to pick this thing off here, start in one corner and get it loose. So we have this running all the way around, and then we have this one here, this little square one, and this one down here. And we'll go ahead and get those off of there next. Okay, while I was washing my valve cover up, I've got it sitting over there, and while I was waiting on that to dry, I just took some brake cleaner and cleaned this up. You know, it's not real critical. I'd say if you wanted to pay attention, make sure to clean these two areas where the timing cover joins the head, because you're going to have to put some silicone there, so clean those pretty well. So right now, I've just got my new gaskets here, and you can see kind of how this thing looks. You've got a few little pieces there that go into where your spark plugs do. So this actually makes a pretty big difference And right now we're just going to go ahead and work on putting this in. Okay, so this will only go one way, and you just have to kind of just work your way around. Start on one spot, and the main thing you'll notice these little, make sure that those go where they're supposed to, and don't try to stretch it too much. So we'll go ahead and get this in, and we've got the outer one. Now we're just going to work on our bigger inner piece here, and we'll go ahead and get that in. Okay, now we're going to put in this one here. And then the last one. And you'll notice that these stick up like a millimeter or so, and once you when you take it off at first, you'll notice that your old one is just completely flat, and that's where all the problems come in, not only getting into your plugs but going down the back of your engine and all over. So now the next thing I'm going to do, I've got just some of this ultra gray, and we're going to put us a dab. So if you're looking at the front of the engine, you come over here to the timing cover. We're going to put us a dab where this junction is, here and here, just a little bit where that junction is. Okay, and with that, we're going to go ahead and set this on. Try not to mess our silicone up. Right, and I'm going to go ahead and start working these bolts in and snugging them down a little bit. Okay, and once I've got all those hand tightened, we're going to go through and just snug these down a little bit. I'm going to tighten it to like 96 inch-pounds. It doesn't. If you don't have an inch-pound, just tighten them, snug them a little bit. It doesn't take a whole lot. Don't get carried away with it, because they're just little bolts, and it's just the pressure of the gasket kind of does the job. So just, you know, barely tighten them if you don't have an inch-pound. And it doesn't, like for the ones that I can't get my inch-pound to work on there, I'll just kind of do it by hand, just by feel. We're going to go ahead and get this all tightened up now. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and place our shroud attachments. And remember that we've got a bracket that goes on over here, so we'll have to put that on. We'll just put these back. Yeah, drop that one. This one right here. And we'll get this bracket that goes back on that one over there. We can replace that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and just put our coil packs in. And once we get those in, we'll just go ahead and get our bolts going back into those there. Okay, now we've just fastened and snugged those down. We've reconnected our coil pack wires. And remember, there's a snap that goes down there. We've put our wire clips back where they go. And I remember that we'd removed this that slides onto here, and we'll want to slide that back. And you'll notice that I have a few other things loose here. It's because I'm doing my injector O-rings as well. But you want to make sure to snap that back on, and then we reconnect this right here and snap it into place. Now we've got these on here, we'll be able to reinstall our decorative shroud, and that's pretty much all there is to it. So just a little bit of moving some wires and stuff around. Like I said, it's not too difficult. Just take a picture if you're not sure about putting everything back, and like I said, that'll definitely fix the oil leaking problems on that, and it's a pretty cheap fix. So anyways, thank y'all for watching.